It's hard to find people who will love you no matter what. I was lucky enough to find 3 of them.
What if Miranda, Charlotte, and Samantha aren't real, but 3 parts of Carrie's psyche?
I used to wonder if Samantha, Charlotte, and Miranda were real. That wasn't just her column. Because they're such perfectly archetypal characters, the other 3.
If you look closer, you can read the 3 secondary protagonists of Sex and the City as representing the 3 primary facets of a contemporary woman. Miranda is the head.
Unbelievable fairy tales concocted by women to make their love lives seem less hopeless.
Charlotte is the heart.
Well, I think that having it all really means having someone special to share it with.
And Samantha is the libido.
Me badly once, shame on you. Me badly twice, shame on me.
As the protagonist at the center of this friend group, Carrie demonstrates a woman's struggle to reconcile her sharp modern mind, conventional fairy tale-loving heart, and unfiltered sex drive. Samantha, Miranda, and Charlotte come across like 3 voices in Carrie's head who are in a perpetual state of conflict about how a modern woman should behave.
Men don't want a woman who's too self-sufficient.
I'm sorry, did someone just order a Victorian straight up?
While each of the 3 provides her more distinctive perspective on the issues explored on the show, Carrie's personality is primarily defined by how she integrates these 3 points of view into a neutral, balanced middle ground.
Why do you always have to talk about sex like that?
Because I can.
Okay, girls, simmer down. Mommy hasn't had her caffeine yet.
Here's our take on how Miranda, Charlotte, and Samantha embody a woman's head, heart, and libido, and why it can be so hard to get these 3 pieces of oneself to agree on anything.
It seems that when it comes to affairs of the heart, there's a battle between what we know and what we feel. Is it smarter to follow your heart or your head?
Thank you so much to Shudder for sponsoring today's video. If you're looking for the best scare of your life, you need to check out this streaming service. It offers an incredible selection of expertly curated horror, supernatural, and thriller content. Shudder is commercial-free with exclusive releases you won't find anywhere else. To try Shudder free for 30 days, go to shudder.com and use promo code THETAKE. That's SHUDDER.com and use code THETAKE.
What about us? What we think, we feel, we know. Give me a call when you're ready to talk about something besides men for a change.
Miranda represents the modern woman's head and what it looks like if she lets her mind take charge, basing her decisions on reason and principles. Being guided by the mind has made Miranda into a driven, successful professional who's focused on her career as a lawyer and unapologetic about her financial successes.
I want to enjoy my success, not apologize for it.
Bravo, honey.
As the most developed thinker of the group, Miranda is also defined by her moral ideals, and she's representative of the modern feminist, calling into question imbalanced gender dynamics.
I've got the money, I've got a great job, and I still get, it's just you.
While the other women frequently accept disempowering or problematic situations without deeply examining them, Miranda is always there to remind them when they're not acting in the spirit of feminism.
How does it happen that 4 such smart women have nothing to talk about but boyfriends?
Just like a woman's own mind might interject when, deep down, she knows she's not respecting herself. So as the symbolic mind, Miranda warns us of the dangers of relying on a relationship to complete you, and the importance of tending to the other spheres of your life.
I believe that there's that one perfect person out there to complete you.
And if you don't find him, what, you're incomplete? It's so dangerous.
One of Miranda's most admirable qualities is that she strives to be herself and resist societal pressures she doesn't agree with.
I drink coffee and have sex and buy pies and enjoy battery-operated devices.
Throughout the series, Miranda pushes Carrie to attain the same understanding of what it means to be true to oneself.
When did you get so obsessed with being perfect? You can't quit your column. It's who you are.
Carrie dissects her own behavior to Miranda with more intellectual insight and analysis than she displays with the other women, showing how an honest relationship with the mind can help us recognize our patterns and stop perpetuating bad habits.
You should see me around him. I'm not like me. I'm like together, Carrie. Sometimes I catch myself actually posing. It's exhausting.
Miranda is always there for Carrie, ready to be supportive even if she disagrees, just as we can always come back to the mind for steady consultation after we've messed up.
But if I'm totally wrong and it is a huge mistake, I need to know you'll be there for me.
I'm there.
But Carrie also has more conflict with Miranda than with any of the other friends.
Wake up, Carrie. How many more times are you gonna go through this? He is bad for you.
Unfiltered Miranda is brutally honest in her advice, even to the point of being harsh.
He's just not that into you. So move on.
This voice of a woman's inner logic and reason often calls out Carrie's impulsive or poorly thought out behavior.
Jesus, every time you get near him, you turn into this pathetic, needy, insecure victim. And the thing that pisses me off the most is that you're more than willing to go right back from work.
She is also quick to chastise Carrie when Carrie prioritizes her romantic relationships over her friendships.
You're at Biggs? You and I are having dinner tonight.
Well, he got this veal.
You blew me off for a piece of politically incorrect meat?
Because Miranda is so self-assured and rational, one of her fatal flaws is that she is unsympathetic and unforgiving when others make decisions based on emotion or impulse, or simply make a mistake.
You know, everybody's not as tough as you, Miranda. Some of us make mistakes.
We also notice that Miranda's approach to life feels cynical, especially about matters of the heart, which frequently don't adhere to logic. The four women of Sex and the City can be separated into two camps. Charlotte and Carrie are the romantics, and Miranda and Samantha are the cynics.
He was looking into my eyes. I was looking for the remote.
But Miranda's cynicism especially is one of her defining characteristics.
I am never gonna be happy. It's just not gonna happen for me.
Like the rational mind itself, she doesn't believe in anything that can't be seen or proven, and gives voice to the skeptical thoughts that most women have, at one point or another, concerning love and relationships.
I don't know if I believe all that. Maybe there isn't someone for everyone.
In the end, for all her strengths, Miranda demonstrates the limits to living guided by her mind alone. Her natural instinct is to be closed off to love and vulnerability. And in their conflicts, Carrie reminds both her friend and the audience that taking risks and being emotionally vulnerable are essential to experiencing true love and happiness.
You won't even consider forgiving Steve for something he did 6 months ago.
Ultimately, Miranda's happy ending with Steve illustrates that the mind's reason must be supplemented by feeling and leaps of faith. Sometimes logic has to bow down to what our hearts really want.
Charlotte is the brunette, Miranda is the redhead, and Samantha is trouble.
Samantha represents the modern woman's sex drive and what it looks like if she lets her libido take the wheel, basing her decisions on uncensored desire and instinct.
I'm a trisexual. I'll try anything once.
While Carrie may be at the center of Sex and the City, her own sex life is actually relatively tame. It was through Samantha that Sex and the City explored a more radical version of female sexual liberation.
And then he pretended to tie my hands behind my back. I tell you, it is so refreshing to be with someone who likes to outside the box.
In the show's very first episode, it's Samantha who inspires Carrie to put her own pleasure before a man's.
You can bang your head against the wall and try and find a relationship, or you can say screw it and just go out and have sex like a man.
Throughout the show, Samantha demonstrates that fulfilling your sexual side to the fullest breeds great self-confidence.
My legs are fantastic. I have killer abs. My ass is perfection.
The quality her friends most admire and envy in her.
You're my hero. I think it's fantastic that you can just put it out there.
Empowered by this self-assurance, she makes the conscious choice not to concern herself with the opinions of others.
I will not be judged by you or society.
And she attempts to impart this philosophy to her friends.
Honey, you have to let it go. If I worried what every bitch in New York was saying about me, I'd never leave the house.
In the season 4 episode, The Real Me, when all of the women grapple in their own ways with issues of self-confidence, Carrie wants Samantha by her side to help her see herself honestly.
Go get Samantha and tell her to come back here. She'll tell me the truth.
And it's only after a pep talk from Samantha
You're a model.
that she has the confidence to embrace a more overtly sexual version of herself on the runway, even holding her head high after a stumble. Much of Samantha's power and charm comes from being totally honest with herself and others about the realities of human beings' baser instincts. This makes her an unfailingly understanding friend who never casts judgment even on morally questionable actions.
Don't you want to judge me just a little bit?
Not my style.
As the embodiment of the sexual drive, Samantha is openly anti-monogamy,
I think I have monogamy. I must have caught it from you people.
which symbolizes that a woman's libido is wired just as much as a man's to crave freedom and resist settling down. Carrie the every woman's pursuit of an exclusive, forever relationship decidedly isn't motivated by her sex drive, as symbolized by Samantha. Meanwhile, we can see the influence of Samantha, or the sex drive, in the person Carrie actually is over time, in the ways that she increasingly acknowledges how much she values her independence and can't fight her deep instincts.
I miss walking into my apartment with no one there and it's all quiet. And I can do that stuff you do when you're totally alone.
She doesn't stop herself from acting on her desire for big, even when her mind and her heart know it's wrong to cheat on her boyfriend with a married man. When she realizes Aiden plans to propose, her negative reaction is physiological, showing that, despite what she may think she wants, her opposition to settling down is a deep physical truth in her body.
I saw the ring and I threw up. That's not normal.
And despite the fact that the show ultimately has her marry big, in the second movie we later see her mourning the loss of her more exciting single life.
Let's just order it.
We ordered in 2 nights last week.
Oh, we've been out all weekend. Let's just stay home.
Despite her cocky bravado, Samantha doesn't always find it easy to reconcile pursuing her desires to the fullest with a world that has strict expectations for how a woman ought to behave. Samantha frequently feels judged and shamed for her promiscuity.
Samantha, I really appreciate the help, but you and I have very different ideas about what's sexy.
Even by her closest friends.
Apparently, Carrie has a problem with the fact that she saw me the Worldwide Express guy.
And she sometimes has to confront doubts about whether she's erred by committing to singledom.
I should have gotten married. It doesn't matter how much you have. If you don't have a guy who cares about you, it don't mean shit.
Growth for Samantha, or a woman's sexual side, consists of combining raw desire with intimacy and openness.
Life's short. You might want to consider holding his hand.
Even though she ultimately chooses her autonomy over monogamy,
I love you, but I love me more.
we see through Samantha's arc that fully embracing an unrestricted, sex-positive attitude can still be compatible with emotional vulnerability and love.
You have meant more to me than any man I've ever known.
Charlotte represents the modern woman's heart and what it looks like to devote oneself to romantic fantasies and faith in ideal love.
This is love. It's not logical, it's right. In my heart, I feel it's right.
Hopeless romantic Charlotte gives voice to the secret desires of the many women who still believe in fairy tale romance, even if they're told it's outdated.
But it can happen. People do live happily ever after.
In contrast to her cynical friends with their disillusioned outlook on relationships, Charlotte, the unshakable heart, continues to keep the faith that real love is out there, even when it appears unlikely, even impossible.
You're such a player.
I don't know. Maybe things will work out between them.
Charlotte unapologetically desires the traditional happily ever after with the perfect guy.
I'm gonna meet the perfect guy, and I'm gonna get married.
While her friends dismiss and mock her naivete and idealism,
It's not fake, it's dumb luck.
and frequently bring her down to earth.
You've only known him for 2 weeks. You can know his email address. You cannot know he's the one.
Because Charlotte thinks with her heart and doesn't always say or do what the enlightened, independent woman is supposed to, she clashes especially with the mind, Miranda.
I've been driving myself crazy lately just trying to get everything done, and Trey suggested that...
Trey suggested?
We see how head and heart collide when the two women argue about whether Charlotte choosing to quit her job is compatible with feminism.
The women's movement is supposed to be about choice.
Charlotte is conflicted about her desire to focus on being a homemaker because she has Miranda's voice in her head telling her that it's a regressive choice.
I'm interviewing girls to replace me, and I really need you to get behind my choice. You get behind your choice.
Yet despite all the other women's judgment,
Color me mine, sweetie. If I was walking by and I saw you in there, I'd just keep on walking.
Carrie herself does the same thing later on when she decides to go to Paris and leave her column behind for a man.
I I can stay here and write about my life, or I can go with him and live my life.
You mean his life?
Carrie, who positions herself as a detached, sexual anthropologist,
I write a column based on the assumption that romance is either dead or just phony.
seemingly prefers to identify with the more modern, edgy, and pragmatic parts of her that resemble Samantha and Miranda.
Maybe some women aren't meant to be tamed.
Yet, privately, she wants many of the same things Charlotte does and doesn't feel fulfilled without traditional romantic partnership.
It felt really sad not to have a man in my life who cares about me.
Ultimately, she's a classic romantic like Charlotte. She's just less upfront about it.
I started to wonder, in a city as cynical as New York, is it still possible to believe in love at first sight?
And it's this old-fashioned heart that actually drives protagonist Carrie and Sex and the City overall, which might more accurately be titled The City and the Heart.
I am someone who is looking for love. Real love.
The central romance with Big that occupies most of Carrie's mental energy throughout the show, not to mention its fairy tale happy ending, are straight out of the Charlotte playbook.
Carrie, you're the one.
When Carrie wants to gush about how well her relationships are going, she knows that Charlotte is her best audience because of her deep enthusiasm for romance.
In my euphoric state, I knew there was only one kind of person who could tolerate me.
I'm in love too. I'm so happy for you.
Of all the women, Charlotte is the most supportive of Carrie's relationship with Big.
I'm so sorry, everyone, but this is my friend, and she just got engaged.
But her devotion to the idea of true love and the institution of marriage is also what makes her so critical of Carrie's decision to have an affair with Big while he's married.
Please, Charlotte. I feel bad enough already. Good. You should feel bad.
As Carrie acts selfishly throughout this storyline, Charlotte the Heart tries to push her towards empathy, challenging her to truly consider the feelings of the other people involved.
Do you ever think about how she'd feel if she found out? Yes, I think about it all the time.
No, you don't. You think about what would happen to you if she found out. You don't think about her.
While Charlotte the Heart is right to hold on to her faith in love, growth for this aspect of the archetypal woman involves overcoming illusions and false ideas of what love looks like.
Harry's not who I expected to fall in love with, but I did.
Carrie seems to echo some of her symbolic heart's growth over the course of the series, too. Yet in the show's ending, she fails to outgrow the simplistic, flawed idea of romance that previously trapped Charlotte. Earlier in the series, both women find themselves in relationships with men who display the external qualities that women should seek. Trey and Big are wealthy, successful, conventionally good-looking, high-status men from good families. But while Charlotte ends her relationship with her superficially perfect partner and chooses a healthier relationship,
And he makes me laugh. And he says what he means, and I feel like I can be myself around him.
Carrie rejects the healthier partnership that she could have with Aiden and remains wedded to the idea of winning Big, without examining whether he's really such a prize.
I knew you would do this! I knew it!
Carrie, I'm sorry.
I am humiliated!
Charlotte's optimistic belief in true love ultimately allows her to evolve and find a fulfilling relationship. But Carrie's heart never matures to the same degree. It remains stuck on a fantasy, locked in a toxic dynamic.
Did I ever really love Big? Or was I addicted to the pain? The exquisite pain of wanting someone so unattainable.
Stories before and after Sex and the City have long used supporting characters to represent facets of the protagonist.
You know, you're funny because you're definitely like a Carrie with like some Samantha aspects and Charlotte hair.
Externalizing the warring drives within the self is an effective way of working through the central conflicts that define a character. Episodes of Sex and the City are frequently structured around playing out a particular topic or question from the simultaneous perspectives of Carrie and her three friends.
Jack wants us to do a threesome.
Of course he does. Every guy does.
As if the mind, heart, and libido are all weighing in before Carrie synthesizes their observations and comes to her final conclusion.
And I realized the real appeal of the threesome, it was easy. It's intimacy that's the bitch.
And Carrie's character is ultimately an amalgamation of these three personalities, who seem so incompatible yet come together in one psyche. She balances her heart's optimism and belief in love.
And then I realized I do have faith. Faith that I would one day meet someone who would be sure that I was the one.
With her mind's rationality and progressive values,
We're intelligent human beings here. We have to learn to rise above the physical stuff.
and adds a dash of Samantha's independent nature and daring confidence.
I decided I wasn't going to let a magazine or my friends or the Surgeon General stop me from being who I was. Single and fabulous! Exclamation point.
Women to this day must accomplish this same balancing act of reconciling the disparate parts of themselves in the pursuit of love, success, and personal fulfillment. At least there's one thing the mind, heart, and sex drive can all agree on: that a woman's friends are the great loves of her life.
Maybe we could be each other's soulmates.
If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified about all of our new videos. This video is brought to you by Shudder, the world's premier streaming service for horror, thriller, and supernatural content. Our team at The Take loves Shudder because it gives us access to the largest collection of acclaimed horror movies and series, from beloved classics to brand new exclusives. And it's all for just $5.99 a month, or $56.99 a year. One Shudder exclusive you can check out right now is the documentary Leap of Faith, William Friedkin on The Exorcist, which delves deeper into one of our favorite movies of all time. In his own words, the director of the iconic film explains every aspect of the development and creation, his philosophy on film music, and his approach to subliminal cuts. So to start streaming Shudder free for 30 days, go to Shudder.com and use promo code THETAKE.